I'm Blue Bailey.
And I'm Dexter DeNovo, and this is Reading is Fundamental,
The show where we talk about news in entertainment law.
Yes, that leather daddy
And that drag queen
are both licensed California attorneys.
We celebrate queerness,
Sex positivity,
and reading bitches for filth.
And with that being said,
The library is now open.
Officially.
The library is open.
Because reading is what? Fundamental.
The information on this podcast is for general information purposes only. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as legal advice for any individual, case, or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. Sorry about it.
What?
Fundamental.
Hi, I'm Blue Bailey, your legal leather daddy here at Reading is Fundamental, and this...
I'm Dexter DeNovo. I wish I had a tagline like that, like legal leather daddy.
You're the Elwoods of drag.
I'm the Elwoods of drag. That is my tagline.
Does that make me the Selma Blair of drag?
Yes.
Does it?
Yes.
Not-
You're in desperate need of a makeover.
I'm actually... That's not the right character.
Oh, wait. Which one's Selma Blair?
Selma Blair's the cunty friend that doesn't like her at first.
Yeah.
Oh.
In desperate need of a mentor.
Oh, all right, fine.
I mean, she's not completely tragic.
I'll take it because Selma Blair is the voice on the phone and Scream 2 that Sarah Michelle Gellar talks to.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just did a podcast with my friend, and we...
Your friend?
Yes.
Our friend? I know her too.
Do you?
Marty Cohn?
No.
Oh, then yes.
Another podcast, because
Yes,
she's a
your
podcast
friend.
queen now. My friend, where we reviewed Legally Blonde, the movie.
That's right. And
Yes.
like heartbreak songs or something
It's
like that.
Broken Hearted Blockbuster. But yeah, she like looks at different films and like what's your favorite, and we like dissected all of Legally Blonde. And there were things that I've seen this movie, I don't know, at least 80 times, and there were still things that I didn't notice. Like Clinique like sponsored the whole thing, basically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like at the beginning, like there's the they're all going to the sorority house or whatever. Everybody has Clinique shit. And then if you remember, she visits the client in the I almost said hospital, in the jail. And she's like, I brought you the entire Clinique skincare line.
She does.
Yes.
I did not know that.
And she's like, and the Bible.
And what was the song that you chose?
Oh, I chose So What by Pink.
Okay.
Just because it was like, it's about like divorce and stuff, and So What is like, fuck you, I don't need you, I'm a rock star.
Yeah, I like Pink.
Yeah.
Speaking of music,
Yes.
I just went and saw Mariah Carey
Mariah
at Pride. Well, I didn't just see her, but she was horrible. She was the worst concert I've ever been to.
Did she stand there and get carried around?
She did not get carried around. She stood there and put her hand out, and someone had to walk her from one side of the stage to the other.
She can't even walk herself.
She can't. There was a moment when she left the stage for 5 minutes, and her backup dancers were dancing, and they were dancing with those like little like butterfly arm things.
Yep.
And she came back in the same outfit. I could almost excuse all of the diva behavior if there was any element of production with it.
She could not be bothered.
She could not. Her backup dancers, and this is no shade towards Oasis, but it felt like something that would happen at your local drag bar.
Yeah.
There was no costumes. Wow. It was the bare minimum. At one point, she came out and she's like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
She was like, how many of you have seen Mean Girls? And
these are gays.
She was wearing, the LA Pride.
Everybody's seen Mean Girls.
She was wearing a tiara and she took it off and she's like, I really wish that I could break this tiara and give each and every one of you a piece of it. But I'm not going to because it's too expensive. And then she put it down.
Wow.
And then she
didn't even recreate the scene.
Quote unquote performed for 10 minutes and went back to the tiara and she's like, I really wish that I could break off a piece for each and every one of you. But I'm not going to.
Again?
Again. And then a third time.
What is with this woman?
She was out of it. She started singing My All in Spanish.
What?
And got like 2 lines into it, and she's like, never mind, we're doing English.
Has she relapsed? Like,
questionable. I don't know. Sean loved it, but he went in expecting a shit show. I had high hopes for her. She had a Vegas residency. I thought she like got her shit together, and at least if she's going to be a diva, had the backup dancers and the stage production going, and just none of it was present. For me.
Wow.
What concerts?
Especially for such a big venue and like such a big event as LA Pride, like that's a bummer.
I went last year and saw Christina Aguilera.
You loved her.
She was amazing.
She came out with a big old dildo.
Big old sparkly green dildo. Kim Petras. Not Nicole Kidman. Paris Hilton.
We come
same
here.
difference. And Mariah Carey had no guest stars. I wish we were on AIDS Life Cycle. I wish we were there Friday night because that was Megan Thee Stallion.
Ooh.
And apparently Megan brought out Tovlo.
Oh. Tuvalu.
Tuvalu.
Tovelo.
Tuvalu.
Tovelo.
What concerts are you seeing? Hopefully not
none.
Mariah.
Because I didn't get tickets to Renaissance because I couldn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
You didn't get Club Renaissance tickets?
Did I get what?
You didn't get Club Renaissance tickets?
No.
That little circle in the middle of the map with its own bar?
No.
Oh, I'll let you know how it is.
Wow. Did you?
I did.
When?
When
Bitch.
Me, Amy, and do you remember Megan from law school?
No.
You remember Amy?
Yes.
We all signed up for the lottery in like 3 different cities. We all did not get it each time. And then Sean got it on his city card.
On his city card?
His Citibank.
Oh.
There's like certain pre-sale tickets. So I'll be seeing Beyonce. I'll let you know how it is.
When, where?
I don't know, in the future. In the imminent future.
You're just like boasting about it and you don't even know?
I don't.
Wow. Well, I have been doing the terrible thing to do for a lawyer and watching bootlegs on YouTube.
Of concerts?
Yes. So it's like people who have gone to the Renaissance tour and they pretty much are, I mean,
The whole concert?
pretty much. Like,
Okay.
And they're posting it in like 10-minute increments, but it's like you just go to part 3 or part 4 or like whatever.
I'm all for that. Like it took me forever to actually switch from purchasing music to Spotify. But I do agree that if something is not available, you could download it and pirate it. I do that for 6. I listen and watch 6 on YouTube because
musical.
I love it and I'm obsessed with it, and it's not in my city anymore.
I did watch Hedwig and the Angry Inch on Broadway, like bootleg recordings of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've seen like almost every cast member that has ever done Hedwig at some point because I wanted to see how they all did it differently.
Yeah.
And I can't do that, so I did watch bootlegs of it. But from what I've seen on the YouTubes of the Renaissance tour, it looks fantastic.
Well, you know.
Like it looks. Shut up! I hate you.
Oh wait, so you've been watching Renaissance and okay, so
all I know is that Taylor Swift's on a tour. I don't know anything about.
Okay, I didn't go to Eras. I was going to ask you which bootleg tour you'd rather go to, but
I would rather go to Beyonce.
you'd rather spend your pretend money on
It looks
Beyonce- on
amazing.
pretend Beyonce tickets.
From what I've seen, she does like 18,000 costume changes, unlike Mariah. She sings, unlike
Like
Mariah.
Mariah.
She walks herself,
Unlike Mariah.
So it looks really, really cool.
I'm excited. I'm not going to boast, but this is like my 3rd, 4th time seeing Beyonce, and I'm the most excited for this tour because it's the gay tour. I just hope she has merchandise that's, I'm not going to say for guys, but I'm going to say masculine cut. I'm so sick and tired of going to concerts and the cuter shirt is always the baby doll cut. That's like made for petite body frames, and I try to put it on, it just doesn't look right.
Oh, you're not a petite?
No?
She's extra large petite.
Wow.
I do know, I mean, Pink is on tour too. We were just talking about Pink.
That's okay. So that's an artist who had the feminine cut tank tops that I actually tried to purchase and see if I could pull off. It didn't work.
Wow.
There have been maybe 2 concerts, and I go to a lot of concerts where they've actually come up with gay boy specific shirts. The one is Lady Gaga.
Fair.
She came up with a cute muscle tank for Joanne, and the other was the Spice Girls reunion tour that created a we can't call them wife beaters anymore. What do we call them?
A shirts, tank tops.
Tank tops.
Yeah.
Husband beaters that said Spice Boy on it.
Aww.
And I wish I was a petite because that motherfucker was in a small because it was that long ago and it would not fit now.
You're like, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want, and it's a shirt that'll fit me.
Yes.
That was clever. I was very proud of myself. Do you want to get into our mini article today?
Our mini challenge is about porn. And I actually feel pretty knowledgeable about this one.
Oh, do you? Is
Yeah.
there, I mean, do you have experience?
I may have watched a scene or two in my day. I read an article about how the industry works.
Yeah, it's like, you have an idea of how it works.
An idea.
You
Tell
have-
us,
you-
what is the topic?
It's coming out of Utah again because, of course, it is.
The worst two things in the world are Utah and Mariah Carey.
What if she performs in Utah?
The world would explode.
The world would explode, I agree. So Utah passed a bill that requires age verification with a government ID in order to view pornographic material within the state. And it was passed by a unanimous vote of the Utah legislature and signed into law. So because of that, Pornhub has just shut down in Utah. So
It's done.
Yes. I
You
mean,
get a video.
yes, and then they explain like what it is and what happened or whatever. And they're saying that they don't have a way to safely verify the IDs, which I
Who's they?
agree. Pornhub does not.
Pornhub,
have.
okay.
And because there's nothing set up for the state of Utah, so it's like, okay, here's how the technology works behind it, or at least I would think it does, right? So you're gonna have an IP address geolocation to figure out where they're coming from. Do you know what any of those words mean?
Yes.
Okay, so they're going to find out, okay, this person is coming from Utah. And when that comes in, then they're like, okay, we're going to serve you this thing that says you need to submit your ID. Even if that person submits the ID, the company Pornhub will need to cross-reference that with data from the state of Utah. And they have no connection at all to verify this information.
When I first read the bill, I was like, okay, why is everyone upset? This is the same as me going into an adult video store and having to show my ID, or showing my ID to buy porn or get into like a strip club. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? And then I was like, no, it's not exactly the same thing, because when you show your ID to the clerk is looking at your ID. He's not creating a record of it. He's not storing it. He's not transmitting my photo, the actual picture of my ID
Nope.
outside.
Nope.
And that to me is what a huge issue here. There's a huge
Yes.
privacy issue here.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's a huge privacy issue, and that's one of the reasons that they sued. So a California-based trade group is suing because of violations of the First and 14th Amendment.
The
So
Free Speech Coalition, we love them.
yes. So First Amendment, obviously free speech, blah, blah, blah. 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. But there's suing for also privacy grounds for that reason.
So the privacy thing is something that I understand in very broad concept. You do privacy, so can you, for me, break it down? I get the First Amendment thing. I'm happy to talk about that, but you teach me on this privacy thing.
This is unfortunately very amorphous, but you do have some right of privacy against the federal government. Like, they shouldn't be concerned in affairs like with your sex life after Lawrence v. Texas. They shouldn't be concerned about your reproductive things after, I forget what the original one was, the sterilization, but after Roe v. Wade, which is now overturned. There's like an implied right to privacy in the Constitution. But in general, like what does the government need to know if you're watching porn or not?
And then
right?
what are the dangers?
Oh my gosh.
That's the, like, I know that shit can go wrong with like putting information out on the internet, but I don't know exactly, like, if you upload your ID to Pornhub, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay, well, the biggest thing obviously is like identity theft, right? So it's like, just think of it, now we have just a data bank full of people's IDs. Like, there are hackers, they just hack into the data bank, now we have 700 people's IDs, right? And it depends on who's hacking into this data bank. Like, it could be somebody who's just trying to do identity theft. It could be like nefarious purposes. Like, maybe they're looking in and being like, okay, of these people, now we're going to cross-reference this and see who's watching gay porn and like what they're doing. And here's a list of people in the state of Utah who are watching gay porn. Let's go kill them.
Kind of like the Grindr case. Did we talk about
Yes.
Grindr here?
Yes.
Or was it somewhere else?
I think it was somewhere else, but similar. Yes.
Okay. And in Grindr, basically, Grindr was selling data, and people were able to take the data that Grindr had and cross-reference it with precise geolocations and figure out where all the faggots were.
Yep.
Specifically, where all the priests were that were on Grindr, and then those priests got kicked out. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's just a group that was trying to get priests kicked out of their church.
But as much as you can use it for good, you can use it for evil.
Yeah, and that's only like semi-evil, because like who cares about church? But like, what about people who want to figure out where faggots are to kill them, to burn their house down?
Yes, especially in this day and age. I think that's scary. I mean, you can use it for all types of information. The reason why data privacy laws against government started to begin with was because of the Holocaust. Like, there was a registry of Jewish people and queer people, like, of all their information, where they lived, everything like that. So they were using the data against them.
You would go to, the Nazis would go to the temple and get the registration and names and addresses of all the attendees.
So, I mean, we have these protections in place against the government for these types of reasons.
I think it's important to point out, and you kind of briefly touched on this, that the state has no system to verify the IDs. There's really, once they have the ID, there's really no kind of guidance on what Pornhub or any of these adult entertainment companies should be doing. And then I would assume that if there's no guidance on what to do, there's no guidance on selling that data.
Nope.
So again, we get into kind of like a Grindr type situation where people know what kind of content you're watching, have your ID, your address, and your legal information, and could potentially sell that to third parties.
Yep. And like, when they're saying there's no safe way to do it either, like the connection that, even if there were a connection, they're trying to make it like a private connection, so it's like nobody can hack into it, but it's not even there. Like, it's not even there to begin with. I mean, no surprise. The person who submitted this said, the purpose of the law is to try and protect children.
Always been about the children. Fuck the children.
It.
No, literally, fuck the children. Can we say that?
We're just going to clip that bit.
That's it. That's our soundbite. Reading is fundamental. Fuck the children.
And then it's going to be like all over Fox News. Did you see what they're using, the clip that they're using about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence?
No.
So there's a duo that does pole dancing.
Yeah.
I think I showed you. It's like a gay pole dancing duo. And they showed up to the Hunky Jesus contest run by the sisters.
Yeah.
And they did a pole dance around a cross. And so, like, every conservative news outlet is like, look at these people. They have no respect for religion. They're doing a pole dance on the cross. This is who the sisters are, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The guy who is in it is like reposting every single one, like, oh my God, I'm famous.
Oh my
like,
God, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's like totally like so excited about it. Okay, but
Hold on, slight tangent. Did I tell you what my Halloween idea is? I just want to walk around with like a little plush puppy doll and a pair of clippers and just be like a dog groomer, but just have like groomer big on my chest. Like, I don't even remember well.
That you have to have the dog.
You have to have the dog.
You're like, no, you're gonna go way too far, and you're gonna have like a doll.
I'll have like a Cabbage Patch doll.
Oh my Lord. Well, they said that the bill is to protect children from sexually explicit content. The sponsor of the bill, who is, of course, a Republican, said, I'm not going to blame all of society's ills on pornography, but I don't think it's helpful when a kid is forming their impression of sex and gender to have all of this filth and lewd depictions on their mind. Thoughts, questions?
Thoughts, questions. I mean, he kind of had a somewhat viable argument for me until he colored it with disgusting and lewd and put his own personal thing there. Like, if you would have stuck to maybe some science and gave me like, hey, there's studies that say children shouldn't watch porn until a certain age, I would have bought it. But you clearly said that this is just your own personal taste.
I agree that the end of it is saying of this filth and lewd depiction. So it's like
You showed your cards.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
obviously you think that all porn is like filthy and lewd and blah 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 and is all type of one thing. So you've colored your argument in a way that is not convincing.
And there are politicians out there saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe, is running around saying that porn in general should be restricted to everyone, even consenting adults, regardless of age.
Wow. I think that there is a concept that like, oh, this is all harmful for children, blah, blah, blah. Like no one, like you said, have shown harm, first of all. Not that I'm saying we should like let this happen and like go free willy-nilly, but it's like what they're saying that we're trying to protect from harmful explicit content. Like what is harmful to children? You know what I mean? We don't have that definition and we don't know.
We don't have the studies to back it up to say
Yes.
one way or the other. I mean, I would assume that a lot of people come into contact with porn. I would say the majority of people have come into contact with some sort of pornography before the age of 18. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, are you saying that, like, all people are fucked up?
Yes. I mean, I have to say, I do think, I mean, I do worry about it, right? Like, it was a thing that was like not completely accessible, but still accessible when we were kids or whatever. And I do think that's like probably I explored it too young, like that type of thing. So I am like concerned about that, but this prohibition doesn't do anything to solve that problem. Like you doing an age verification has nothing to do to solve it.
Yep.
One, all these kids are smart and they know how to work the TikToks. They're going to get through your age verification gate. Like, it's going to be so easy. And two, I really don't like the idea of like the government saying what is harmful unless it's like bodily harm. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody's interpretation is different of everything. You know what I mean? Like somebody like has a parent, they should be the ones to decide to put their parental controls on. And like,
we have parental control.
yes, like why do we need you, government, to decide? Like,
So I think that's a great segue in from like the privacy conversation into kind of like the First Amendment kind of part of this. I like when you're restricting speech, especially when it's First Amendment, it kind of needs to be the least restrictive means possible in most speech. And that's not the case in this. You have parental controls that would be a better way of policing this.
yeah.
I see this, like, having worked with adult platforms before, if you, like, these requirements cost money and
Yes.
cost manpower. Whether
Yes.
you're buying a software that does it or employing people to physically verify the ID, you need to have resources for that. And if you
Yes.
don't have the resources for that, you may not be able to stay in business or produce
No.
the content. Or you may have a fear that you'll get a fine that you can't pay, and then there'll be a fear and you won't make the content anyway. So I do see that this has a like a chilling effect on free speech.
I think the first thing that people will do is join Surfshark and get a VPN and not be in Utah anymore, and then they just circumvented the whole thing.
Oh, there we go.
Boom.
So that reminds me, we didn't touch on it. We touched on it a little bit, but like if you go to Pornhub right now in Utah, you will get a video explaining how fucked up the law is, pretty much what you could do about it, and basically saying you're not getting porn in Utah until this is fixed. And I think they've done that before once in Louisiana.
Oh,
passed
yes,
a very similar rule.
Yeah, I think that might be the case in Louisiana right now. Yeah.
Do you think the Lawrence case could be argued? Like, if this ever made its way to the Supreme Court, could Lawrence be argued that
You mean Lawrence v. Texas?
Lawrence v. Texas saying that you can engage in private sexual contact in your house?
Yeah. God, regulating the internet period is hard, right? Because it's like, and we've been dealing with it since the dawn of the internet. Like we can't put physical barriers on this legislation because the internet has no physical barriers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we can't, it's like we're making privacy laws in California, but how do we know, if it's going to affect somebody else? And then these privacy laws, like in California, still apply to me if I go outside of California. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you even know if a California resident is traveling outside of California? It just like makes no sense. So yes, I think you could start there and use Lawrence v. Texas as precedent and be like, hey, you have the right to private, consensual, like sexual encounters, whatever you want to do. But I think it wouldn't be the whole basis of the argument.
Okay. I like that Pornhub is using their clout
Yes.
to take a stand. And I'm curious to see where this goes. Again, it's another case of regulating adult content and queer speech in the name of protecting the children.
Yeah. Protect your own children. Do you want to talk about our main topic?
So our main topic just happened in early June, and it's a coalition of music publishers are suing Twitter for copyright infringement of people posting songs that include their proprietary information. Not proprietary information. That's true.
Well, let me read what I put down. So it says a coalition of music publishers, including Universal Music Publishing Group, Warner, Chappell Music, and Sony, are suing Twitter over massive copyright infringement, quote unquote, involving the company's respective music catalogs. Basically, they're saying that Twitter is not doing enough to take down all the content that is infringing on their site. And why do they have to do that?
Because of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, of course.
I love how we ask each other questions and be like, and Mr. Bailey. It's like we're back in law school again. It's like we're put Socratic method. It's like, would you say this is malum inse or malum prohibitum? Thank you. Oh, just knocked something out. But I think... Oh, wait, what I was going to say. Why do they need to do that is because of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which is...
An act.
An act that does it. So it amended Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, I believe, to give companies, quote, safe harbor for infringing things on their websites. So basically...
We've talked about this in the context of porn. So the safe harbor allows a platform to not be liable for content infringement as long as they weren't put on notice.
Yes.
It basically allowed the internet to grow as we see it now because we wouldn't have social media websites like Facebook or YouTube if Facebook or YouTube were directly liable for the content that its users post. So if you posted something defamatory about me or that copyrighted my work, I couldn't go and immediately sue Facebook.
No.
And the Digital Millennium Copyright Act works in tandem with the Communications Decency Act by creating a notification system so that Facebook, you could file a copyright complaint or provide any sort of notice.
So companies like Twitter, Facebook, Flipboard, I don't know, anything that uses user-generated content, so something that somebody puts up there, they should have a program that's a DMCA takedown thing. So you should be able, as a rights holder, to write in and be like, hey, this is my shit, and you need to tell those other people to take it down or take it down yourself. So, I mean, YouTube has gotten pretty smart about it. They have this system called Content ID. And so what they've done is they've created a repository of sound files, or if you're a copyright holder, you can submit your sound file into the thing, and they have this repository. Anytime a video is uploaded, they'll immediately just scan it against this repository, and if it matches, you're probably not going to get it posted.
Yeah. So, I mean, in this case, it's different music publishing groups are suing Twitter. But in the YouTube example, Sony Music will go to YouTube and they'll come up with an arrangement where Sony can upload their entire library to YouTube, and then YouTube will automatically scan and flag copyrighted content. And I'm assuming YouTube is paying Sony. There's some sort of monetary arrangement for that.
Yes.
Twitter, these music publishing companies were trying to reach that agreement with Twitter before Elon bought it, but that deal was never finalized.
Yes. So, I mean, I'll get to that in just a second. Let me read this other. So another quote is, Twitter claims that it expeditiously removes content in response to valid claims, nearly always within hours of initial report, if not within minutes. But the lawsuit reads that in reality, Twitter routinely ignores repeat infringers and known infringements, refusing to take simple steps that are available to Twitter to stop these specific instances of infringement. So they're saying they're not doing enough. which I think is fair, right? It's like they're doing it. It's like and they did give very concrete examples, like in their complaint. It was like, here is 10 different users that have infringed thousands of times, and you've done nothing about it. Like you need to shut down their account or something. Like you need to do something to it, and they haven't done it. So I think that's pretty clear. And I think that what you were saying about like they were in negotiations is like, it makes me happy that the music publishers are filing this suit. A lot of times I'm like, oh, music publishers are just blah, 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 and they're in to make money, and yes, they are, blah, blah, blah. But they do have this right, and they are enforcing this right on behalf of all of these artists, right? So these artists get paid too. Like they, have the rights to license all this music, but it's for the benefit of these artists. So we want them to get paid. And interestingly, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, Instagram and TikTok had the same kind of thing where they're like, hey, we know that you're using all of this like copyrighted material. And when TikTok came out and then Reels came out or whatever, they were like, how about we make an arrangement where you license all of these songs from us, and that is in your catalog. So now, like,
that's why you go on Instagram and you have a
Yes.
picture or a video, and you can hit music and
Yes.
search for a song. And
yes,
it's there.
And not all of the songs in recorded history are there. It's only the ones that are licensed from these publishers.
And that's because the publisher came up with an agreement with the platform.
Yes. And it was under threat of litigation. So it was like, when this happened, like I think 5 years ago or whatever, it was because they're like, hey, if you don't come up with something, we're just going to sue you. And they know they're going to lose. You know what I mean? So then they ended up doing this. So not everything is on there, but it gives you the suggested ones, of like what they have in their catalog. And that's why TikTok only has like a certain length or whatever, because they can only, they only have rights for a certain amount of the song, that type of thing. But Twitter has not done that at all. As a matter of fact, Elon Musk has gone on like record as like doing a big fuck you to DMCA. So it's like, not only have they been avoiding it for years when the industry standard has changed, like he's actively saying, I'm not going to comply or whatever. So I think they're right for bringing this suit.
I agree. So basically, these music publishers have reached out to all these other platforms and have come up with some sort of arrangement. And the Twitter arrangement never came through. Twitter is just continuing to let users post content and saying they're taking it down. They're saying they're following DMCA, but the reality is that they're not. And the music publishers are able to show this in thousands of cases.
Yep.
And like the music publishers are able to use Musk's exact quotes saying fuck the DMCA.
Yeah, I think they're using his words against him, and they cited a series of tweets where he said that current copyright law goes absurdly far beyond protecting the original creator, and he added, overzealous DMCA is a plague on humanity. So it's like,
We know his stance.
okay, girl, yeah.
Also showing his cards.
Don't show your cards. There's this podcast that I listen to who reads like true crime.
Yeah.
And like he's read so much true crime at this point that he's like, okay, these are my rules. Like if you're gonna commit a crime, do not write down the crime. Like because like almost every single one he reads, it's like, oh, they put it in their diary, or they like, it's like, oh, God damn it. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody's gonna find this diary, or they put it in a text message, or like whatever.
Then Elon tweets it.
Elon puts it for the whole world to see that he does not like DMCA, which is evidence that he's trying not to comply, right? Like he's obviously like, okay, fuck you, I'm not going to do this. So I think I'm kind of happy that they're doing it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, kind of sidebar, I find it interesting that based on what type of Instagram account you have, gives you access to different types of music.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had it set up as like this weird setting. I forget what it was, but it was like one of the professional settings that was like a business setting, and I was not allowed to select any pop music. It was all very generic sounds and stuff like that.
Interesting.
But the second that I switched it to like creator or something like that, it opened up an entire new catalog of music to use.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that they didn't have all the music library until I tried to find one. And I was like, where is this song? And then it literally took me like, I don't know, hours to be like, oh.
Was it Padam?
No.
they have
Is
that
it
one.
on there?
It
has to be.
Every
It's
fucking
been on-
fagot's playing that.
Yeah,
there.
I'm like, it's been on every.
You know what's not on there?
What?
Come Dump, Come Dump. Famanilla Luzon.
Maybe she hasn't.
Her
submitted
music
it.
publishing company isn't doing their job.
Maybe
if
she hasn't
she ha-
submitted it yet.
That's one.
She has. She doesn't.
She doesn't have one.
We love you, Manila.
So Twitter, like, this isn't like people are posting songs and clicking the song to add because there's no arrangement there. So it's literally
No.
people just users adding the song.
Yes. So I mean, this was like back in the day when this was happening. It was people literally like recording the song and posting it. Right. That's what like was the beginning of it in YouTube. Right.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, they're using the music as an overlay. Like they'll download an MP3 and then they'll put a movie up, but it's like they put this song
Some
as a
drag queen lip syncing to it.
you know, which is so it's like it could be a drag performance that you recorded and then it has that person or that song in it. That's technically infringement and is not like allowed. But so that's interesting because if you do see drag performances, they don't get flagged by Content ID a lot of the time. I don't think on YouTube.
You know,
I don't think
feel
so.
like I've seen enough.
Really?
Yeah.
But they definitely could and do. But yeah, so that's like when it was back in the day. But Twitter's still in the wild west as far as that's concerned.
Which is good and bad. The good
Yeah.
thing is that Twitter is one of the only places that doesn't police adult content to some extent. I mean, there's still a phenomenon of like shadow banning and things like that, but generally adult content is still permitted on Twitter.
How much time do you spend on Twitter?
Enough. Why?
I just
Where are we
I'm-
going with this question? I
I'm
feel very
going
attacked
with
by
this question of the I'm going in the direction of I hope that Twitter crashes and burns. You seem to like it because it's like it allows adult content and stuff, but
I mean, yeah, I do. I only use Twitter for adult content and tweeting airlines when I'm angry at them for being delayed and getting.
oh,
Girl,
she's Karen.
I am, and I got a $75 flight credit with Southwest when they were late,
Wow.
so it works.
And how many people did you call a bitch?
None.
Wow.
But it was actually when I was supposed to be in LA, and I missed kimchi because my flight was 3 hours delayed.
Wow.
But that's besides the point.
You're like, you don't know the inconvenience that you caused me by missing Miss Kimberly Chi in my endeavors. I don't know. But I opened a Twitter account once and I've never used it. I've never even been on Twitter. Like, I don't know. And as soon as to me, it's just evil. Like, the fact that
was it evil before Elon bought it?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Like, what is evil about it, though?
Because they let Trump go crazy on it. Like, they literally could have pulled his account years before he was even running.
Yep.
For all of the content guidelines that they supposedly follow, you know what I mean? For all the terrible things that he said. And it wasn't until the fucking insurrection happened that they're like, oh, maybe we should pull it. You've already caused the damage to democracy, hun. Like, you've already given him a platform to spew lies this whole time. Like, the damage has already been done.
So you're anti-Twitter. You're showing your cards.
Yeah.
Regardless of what Twitter does, you're not going to agree.
Yeah, I would like it to crash and burn. I'm sorry if you work at Twitter and you have a job there, but we'll find you another job.
Will you find me a job?
No. And I was happy to see that the valuation of Twitter has gone down by half. So he's lost $22 billion.
So this lawsuit just got initiated. Where are we at right now? Do you even know where it's initiated?
It's in the Northern District of California,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
And what do you think are the implications? Do you think this is going to force Twitter to sign a deal with the publishing companies and get a contract in place? Do you think at this point they want a deal? Or are they just kind of like you, out for blood?
I think that's a good question. I think that, yes, it is early, but I think they have a really good case, especially because of what the industry standard is now. It's been proven that it can be done.
Yep.
We can make this content licensing agreement happen and you can integrate it successfully into your platform. It's just you're choosing not to do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think they have lots of evidence about non-compliance. So I think it'll be good. It being that much, maybe it'll end up in a settlement, but we'll see. Maybe if they really come for them, that they'll really lose all their money and then they'll really crash and burn. I hate that. When I first moved to San Francisco, I was like, it's so cool. Like, here's the Twitter building, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, no.
You're like, here's the Twitter building. Burn it down.
If an arson happens, do not look.
Again, showing your cards.
He's not even paying rent anymore in this building.
Don't speak a crime.
He's not paying rent anymore in this building.
Yeah. I mean, we could disagree on Twitter. It has benefits to me that I enjoy. Yeah, I do think they're kind of like them being flippant about not following the DMCA sets a bad example for the rest. And I don't want Congress to come in and overregulate the internet because Twitter can't play like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that this action is happening and that it's on behalf of the artists. I don't know. I don't want Twitter to crash and burn yet.
Yet. You love Elon Musk is what you're saying.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, that's probably
No, I don't.
I'm like, well, that's
I do
probably
pay for the now $11 blue check mark.
Oh my God. Oh, well, you do for
It's a business expense.
Yeah, your person.
I feel like if you create
persona.
queer content and you're shadow banned, or if you're filtered between who your audience is, you're kind of forced to pay the money to get verified, at least in the eyes of Twitter.
Okay. Yeah.
There's probably less of an argument because I have other forms of income. But I see people that are sex workers that if that's your main source of income and you want your content to be seen, like, it's worth buying the blue check mark.
I mean, I should say all this with a caveat that, like, I hate Facebook and I still use Instagram every day. Yeah. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But that's what it is. Any last thoughts about this?
I'm curious to see where the case goes. It would be fun, to see them go for blood.
I would like them not to settle, but I think they're going to settle.
I agree.
Yeah. We'll see when it comes. Until then, we thank you for watching another episode of Reading is Fundamental. Leave us some likes in the comments likes and comments in the comment section, and tell your friends. We'll see you next time.
See you in 2 weeks.
Because reading is what?
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Reading is Fundamental.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you the show for free. As a reminder, Reading is Fundamental is brought to you by Fleshbot.com, the leading resource for gay erotica.
DM us with your comments, questions, and let us know what you want to hear.
Or you can email us at readingisfundamentalpodcast@gmail.com.
Until next time,
remember to read your damn contracts. Why?
Because reading is what?
Fundamental.
Fundamental.
Fundamental.